What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Pitch and Catch podcast. My name is Eli Swice,
And I'm Joey Fernandez.
and today we're going to be taking you through some of our predictions in the upcoming MLB postseason. And before we start, make sure to follow us on all socials at Pitch Catch Pod. We'll be having updates and videos on TikTok, and you can also watch this on YouTube at Pitch and Catch Podcast. So make sure to check out all our socials there. And yeah, we could get right into it. A really crazy wild card race that just ended. Is this how you think it was going to end? I mean, I know we had our predictions, but some things kind of came a little too close. So,
Yeah,
what did you think about the whole thing?
I, my biased opinion I did pick the Red Sox to win, but I'm not gonna lie. On that last day I was rooting for the 3 or 4 way tie. I just
Yeah,
like all the sports reporters were saying with Jeff Passan, they were saying chaos. That's everyone wants chaos. Like that's exactly what I was rooting for also. I mean, for it to end like that, I just feel like come on, like you really had to just make it the old-fashioned Red Sox Yankees. I mean, the the matchup is nice. Don't get me wrong, but I would have liked a game 163 and a game 164 to get there. It
yeah,
would have just spiced it up a little bit, you know.
yeah, absolutely. I was definitely rooting for some sort of tie. I'm a little salty. The Blue Jays couldn't sneak in. I think they have a team good enough to compete. It's so many guys on that team, just balled out this year, and they kind of
Yeah,
don't get any recognition. I mean, they get the recognition, but not in the postseason. Um, the Red Sox just coming back. The Nationals didn't help us, giving up a fake. I'm not fake. I'm sorry. Giving up a big lead, and the Yankees obviously winning on the walk off. Tyler Wade was not a lot of people are talking about the base running there. Tyler Wade was a very big reason on why they won.
yeah,
Judge was just a little grounder up the middle. Most guys would probably be out on that play. Tyler Wade, a difference maker. Obviously, the Yankees and the Red Sox making it, which, everyone was rooting for the Mariners. It's America's team, as we all know, and I would have loved to see them there. A little bit of a bittersweet ending, but I do wish the Blue Jays found a way. That team would have been
yeah,
exciting to see.
yeah, for sure. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would have really liked to see the Blue Jays there also, but they have many years left in their window. I mean, the Mariners were a great story, but I think I kind of hate to say this, but I think the best two teams got in my
Mhm.
personal opinion.
Yeah,
It's
it's
tough
it's
though
tough.
because
The
the Blue
Yankees
Jays
are a
are
good
really good
team.
on paper.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Um,
I mean, the Yankees are a really good team, and I mean, as much as we like to kind of, dog them, they could get it done. They could pull something. It's just, I don't know. I mean, the Yankees took, a couple games out of three for like against the Blue Jays in the last series, and they probably would have won the wild card. Who knows? Anything can happen. But let's say the Jays steal a game from the Yankees in the wild card and go on to the ALDS. I mean, it's
you don't
not a
want to see
free
that
win.
team
I think they're more competition for the Rays compared to the Yankees for the Rays and even the Red Sox, to be honest with you.
matchup wise. I'd probably agree with you honestly, just
Mhm.
because I think that pitching staff started to get hot at the right time. Um, but I think a big disadvantage that came for the Blue Jays was not playing at home for a lot of the
Oh
season,
man.
and
Oh
because
yeah.
I feel like not playing in that loud, what is it, the Rogers Center? Yeah,
Yeah.
not playing in the Rogers Center, which is one of the more loud stadiums in baseball, I'd say, especially in a prime time environment. I think that could have definitely helped them win. I mean, at least 2 or 3 more games, which would have put them
Hmm.
over the top. But I mean, I people may say it's a step back from last year because they technically made the playoffs,
Hmm.
but I say they got even better. I mean, with last year with the
Um,
playoff format being much different and the season being much shorter, I think they're on a good trajectory right now, I would say.
yeah, I think they're a dangerous team going into next year, depending on obviously what they do with some of their free agents. You got guys like Simeon and Robbie Ray who are big factors. But yeah, I mean, it's sad to see they played a month at home, and even during that month it wasn't full capacity until like the last week and a half. Those are things you don't see on paper. You can't look up those stats, but when you have everyone there, it makes a huge difference. Any sports fan will tell you that. And like you said, one game, Like if they just snuck one more game in there or something, they could have tied. It's sad to see. I mean, everyone's sad about the Mariners, including myself. I'm more sad though about the Blue Jays because the Mariners, in my opinion, stand no chance of doing anything in the playoffs.
No,
Whereas
no.
the Blue Jays at least had a sliver of hope.
Yeah, the Mariners at best were gonna make it to the DS and just get swept most likely.
Yeah,
But it was still, I mean, everyone, how could you not root for the story at least, But
absolutely.
it's okay. I think it'll still be a great October no matter what. So,
Hmm.
I mean, it's a little disappointing, but once the wild card games are played and move on to the DS, I think everyone will be over it by then.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
was a great
besides,
taste for Mariners fans because they have such a bright future. They're going to be a powerhouse in the next couple of years. We all know this. Their prospects are good. They just make a couple moves. They can be a really good team.
for
So,
sure.
Mariners shouldn't be too down on themselves, Mariners fans. And yeah, I mean, going into the last week of the season, Garrett Cole had an outing that didn't do quite well, and Robbie Ray pitched, and he did pretty well. And when we revisited the AL Cy Young conversation, I was on Garrett Cole before that start. I believe you said Robbie Ray, I think, or am
No,
I
no, no. I thought it was a little closer than you thought
okay?
it was, but I still picked Garrett Cole in the end
Okay.
just because of the rate stats.
Yeah, absolutely. Garrett Cole still, I mean, Robbie Ray has an ERA much lower, but like as you said, like the rate stats and like the expected stats, they still go in Garrett Cole's favor, even with Garrett Cole's quote unquote blow up. Have your opinions changed at all on that?
Personally not. I think even so with all of that going on, I think he's still better all around, especially with the strikeout numbers and like you said, the expected stats and like things like FIP. So I personally value that more than something such as ERA, but a lot of people may disagree with me on that, and I'm definitely willing to hear the argument for it. But I personally just think Garrett Cole, who's had his worst season since he was in Pittsburgh, but that's not saying much because he was literally otherworldly in Houston. So
Absolutely. I mean, like we said last time, there's a difference between like who we think is gonna win and who will win.
yeah, for
These
sure.
voters, they just look at the normal stats that have been proven to be kind of, lackluster in telling the whole story. I think
Yeah.
Robbie Ray escapes with the Cy Young, in terms of what the voters would vote on. And I can't say I'm too mad about it. Had a fantastic
Hmm.
year. Was a huge part in Toronto even having a chance, which you know makes him pretty valuable in my opinion. If I was handed the voting slip, I would have to write Garrett Cole's name down, but I do think Robbie Ray is going to come away with it. The incredible story, and the voters looking at the specific stats that maybe Robbie Ray beats him in, but doesn't quite tell the whole story.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not mad at either one personally. I don't think it's like too big of a difference by any means. I
Mhm.
don't think Garrett Cole is like miles better or anything like that. I don't think he would necessarily be robbed if he didn't get it, but I would just disagree with it. That's all there is to it.
Mhm.
Um, moving on, I think we should get to the bread and butter here of what we're going to be talking about today with the wild card games and just the series in general. So, I think we should start off with the AL because I think that's definitely the more contested matchup just because of the classic rivalry taking place with the Red Sox and the Yankees.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
what are your thoughts on like Eovaldi
you
and
know,
Cole?
it's I would be lying if I said I don't think the Yankees are going to win this. Garrett Cole, obviously, we can talk about his struggles in a little bit recently. October Garrett Cole is one of the best pitchers in MLB history. He's arguably the best October pitcher that is active. Um, he's unreal, and if that Garrett Cole shows up, Red Sox stand absolutely no chance. I expect the Yankees to at least hit 2 home runs during his time on the mound, which should give them enough runs to maybe not coast to an easy win. There might be a scare. We know about the Yankees bullpen. Um, like I told you before the podcast, the Yankees have a better record at Fenway than at home versus the Red Sox this year, which is pretty interesting. It's a little interesting storyline there. And the Yankees are out for blood. The Red Sox, I wish them the best. I don't see a situation. I mean, unless Garrett Cole continues to pitch like he has, I don't see a situation in them winning this game.
I mean, it's tough. I mean, it obviously when you look at it on paper, Eovaldi is nowhere near Garrett Cole's caliber. But the last time we did see Eovaldi in the playoffs, he did perform well. Given that
Hmm.
was 2018, which is, I mean, not that recent, but
Yeah.
uh, I with Garrett Cole's struggles in September with the 5.13 ERA and the 5.04 slugging given up to opposing hitters, that does look like a red flag. But at the same time, the strikeout numbers are still there, and just you expect him to have a certain type of focus going into a game like this, and it's hard to bet against a guy like that. But at the same time, I do see a scenario where the Yankees bats could come out cold, and it could be a pitcher's duel up until the fifth or sixth inning where it comes down to the bullpens. But when you look at the bullpens, it favors the Yankees in the end. So
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to find a scenario for the Red Sox to win this game, but at the same time, baseball is baseball, and any given day, any team could beat another team. That's what's scary about a team making the wild card, because the better team doesn't always come out on top, as we will talk about with the NL matchup, of course. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I wanna pick the Red Sox here, like just because of personal opinion, but
Hmm.
I have to agree. I think the Yankees definitely are favored here, and I'd probably pick them to win.
Yeah. Um, I agree with everything you just said. Some factors could go into this game that could, help the Yankees out a little bit. JD Martinez obviously dealing with a little bit of an ankle thing. They said he's getting treatment. We'll know obviously tomorrow if he's going to be good.
Yeah.
If he misses, it's going to be a big factor. But how big of a factor do you think?
Um, I think pretty big, but at the same time, I think the Red Sox, if they were to lose anyone in any department of their roster in general, I would say they can withstand it probably the most in their lineup, because they have the bats like Hunter Renfroe stepped up, Kike Hernandez has been solid, Xander Bogaerts, who's a mainstay in the lineup. I mean, they got Devers too also. So I think they can also still win that game just based off pure slugging they still have anyway. I think with a loss like that, if he doesn't play, a guy like Rafael Devers would have to carry the load in a game like this, because I feel like every time I've watched them play and they've gotten a big hit, most of the time it's been Rafael Devers. I mean, even in the last game of the season, he's
Yeah.
been he's been their go-to guy.
Yeah, huge hit from him against the Nationals. The Red Sox are going to be adding Jaron Duran also to the roster, who
Ooh,
is he hasn't impressed, but he also hasn't looked terrible, and he's also a threat on the bases, which like we saw in the Yankees last game, that could be the difference maker. So little pieces being moved here and
I
there, it definitely
I
helps. That helps them if JD comes back, but who knows?
I have a question. Do you start Gary Sanchez at catcher?
That's a tough one. I've said this multiple times. Gary Sanchez, with the naked eye, all stats out the window. The stats don't favor me either. But with the naked eye, Gary Sanchez is probably the worst defender I've ever witnessed in my life.
Easily.
He, he has the bat. We know it hasn't been amazing. The defense is so bad that it could easily cost the Yankees a couple runs. Just
Yeah.
watching him, it's so tough. I mean, I would try to get his bat in the lineup, but at catcher, I would have to think real hard about putting him out there, especially, we've seen him get lazy on the breaking balls and stuff, but also with Chapman, if Chapman was to come in, there's been a lot of pass balls throughout history of him and Chapman, high fastballs, whatever, and it's extremely tough to catch, 100, when you don't expect it to go, if he's not hitting his spots, whatever. I just need a more athletic guy, and I would
Yeah.
probably say try your hardest to keep Gary Sanchez off the field because he will always do more bad than good.
Yeah, I think I agree there. Looking at Gary Cole's starts this year, he's only caught 4 of his starts. So
Oh,
there
wow.
might be a thing where Garrett really doesn't prefer him being his catcher.
Yeah.
His numbers aren't necessarily too much different with him as a catcher, but I think it's more of a pass ball issue personally. And I
Mm.
could definitely see Garrett with being more of an emotional guy, not taking it too well if he's in the seventh inning and a run scores off of a pass ball, you know. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think Higashioka probably deserves to start here, and I don't even know if you try to really force him into the lineup in a DH spot. I mean, if you can, I mean, I'm not mad at it, but at the same time, I'm not really too inclined to force him into the lineup at all costs, you know?
Yeah, I think it might be one of those things where the stats may back up your point, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just the Yankee way. The fans love Gary. I don't know if Aaron Boone, has what it takes to take him out of the lineup. Although there
Yeah,
are way better options, like give me Luke Voigt in there. Give me, there's a lot of different people. I mean, if
yeah,
you look at it, like his batting stats are like very similar to people like Brett Gardner, like Rougned Odor. Like
yeah.
he's had a better year than those two, but the gap isn't huge, and
No,
he's not the Gary Sanchez we once thought he was. And you know,
yeah.
I
If
do think
anything,
you can go.
I I may find him as a potential pinch hit option when you need
Okay.
a bomb at the end of the game. That's personally what I would use him for, but
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know the exact splits or the exact career numbers off of Uvalde. Maybe he's had success off him in the past, so I could see a scenario where he does get in the lineup, but I
Hmm.
don't know. Maybe DJ not being in the lineup plays a factor,
Yeah.
especially with like a guy like Rougned Odor is probably going to have to be in the lineup with or without him even there anyway. So, yeah, I mean, we'll have to see when the lineup comes out tomorrow, but
Hmm.
it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, do you have any thoughts on what potential layout could be in the infield with DJ gone for the Yankees?
Um, I'm thinking, Odor is a good shout. He's had his flashes. He not. I mean, the stats aren't great. Obviously, it's Rougned
Yeah.
Odor. I think how how severe is Gio's injury? Did we get any update on that?
He stayed in the game, so I believe he'll play. But
Mm-hmm.
it's a little iffy because they just made the position switch with Glaber going back to second and Gio playing
Yep.
short, and then DJ moved to third. So do you just plug in Odor at third, or do you move Glaber back to short and then put Gio at third and move and Odor to second?
I
It's
mean,
kind of a tricky situation there because you don't want to get
well,
guys out of the rhythm, but they want also you
yeah,
want also them to feel comfortable. So.
absolutely. Was the injury to Urshela ankle or something
I,
like
I
that?
believe it was something lower half related, but
Okay.
he didn't seem too crazy hobbled. So I don't
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm sure they'll make the right call because they know more than us. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I mean, if he's injured to some extent, having that mobility taken away from you at shortstop is huge. Um,
With the lack that he already had of but keep going.
exactly, yeah. And, to plug Glaber back in there, who's had his struggles, baseball is a game that is, they say like 90% mental, 80% whatever. It messes with you mentally a little bit when you get taken out of the position that you're known for. You get put at second base, you're getting your reps, and then you get plugged back in. It's not easy to come back to. There's very few people that you can mismatch, and that's why those people are some of the greatest people in the league. It's going to be very interesting to see what they do. I think Rugnin finds his way in there, and I mean, if the ankle or whatever part that is injured to an extent where Urshela is not mobile enough, I could see him being plugged in at third and the Yanks just handing over shortstop to Glaber. But it's not good either way. I mean, it's either does Urshela play with a little bit of limited mobility or does Glaber go back in? It's not a win-win at all.
Yeah, that could be. I mean, a decision that costs
Yeah,
them a game or wins them a game,
yeah.
depending on which way. Because
Hmm.
Glaber also hasn't hit very well when he's played shortstop. I don't know if that's something mentally where he's just not as comfortable in the field, so it translates to him in the batter's box. But I mean, it's something to look out for. It could definitely play into the Red Sox hand, depending on if an error is made or something like that. But who knows? We won't know until the game is played, obviously. But um, another question I had was how Do you think that Luis Severino could play a potential impact like as a multi-inning reliever? Or do you think he may not do as much as people may think?
Um,
He
he
hasn't been
didn't.
back for very long.
Yeah, I didn't miss something, right? He didn't make any return to the majors before this,
No,
or
he did. He did.
he did.
He yeah. He only had an inning or a few appearances, maybe like
Okay.
two at most.
I wonder. He definitely shouldn't be starting.
No.
Um,
He wouldn't be. He would be in a bullpen role.
but yeah,
That's why.
that's it. I would definitely try it out. Maybe not in a, like if the Yankees are up 2-1 in the seventh, I don't want
Hmm.
Severino going in there. Um, but I mean, maybe trying him if they do advance. Uh, it could be one of those stories. It comes back,
Yeah.
helps him out, gives him maybe 4 innings, maybe I don't know, Tyone or someone blows up game one against the Rays, and then he comes in, gives him solid 4 or 5 innings. I don't know what his pitch
Yeah.
count is at. Um, I'm not too excited or optimistic. I don't think in the end we'll be like, wow, Severino was a difference maker. It is
Okay.
it is a little bit of a luxury, I guess, to at least have him to try him out, but
Yeah.
it's tough. Like you said, he's been away for so long. He could easily, do very well, but I don't think his impact is going to be as great as some people think.
Okay. Yeah. He pitched in 4 games, 6 innings total, and didn't
Okay.
give up any runs with 8 strikeouts. So,
Okay,
uh,
that's a good sign.
yeah. So I mean, who knows how many innings they're willing to give him? But if they get farther down in the playoffs and they have a lot of usage in their bullpen, he could come up clutch, at least eating some innings or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I could be totally wrong about this. I must have missed him coming in. I mean, like it's just probably like 1 or 2 innings, 1.5 innings a game. So I didn't really pay too much
No.
attention,
Yeah.
but that's big for them. We've been talking about their bullpen. Their bullpen is not the best, and if he can come in and you know give them that security blanket in the sixth, seventh, eighth, who knows? That's a big factor there. So that's actually a
Yeah.
storyline to watch out for. I'm very interested to see if they even use him in this wild card game if need be, or if they advance, how they go with him forward, because it could be a big difference maker.
For sure. Moving on. I think this is probably gonna be a big one or the other, depending on what side you're on. But the Dodgers and Cardinals. The the 100 and what is it 6 win team
Yep,
versus the 89 or 90 win team.
around the I believe
Yeah.
90.
I
I
mean
don't know.
I mean the exact number doesn't really matter. It's more
Yeah,
about this team won 16 more games, but they find themselves in the exact same spot, and
crazy.
it's 1 game sudden death. What are your thoughts just overall?
You know, I I've made my prediction on this. If you guys want to go check out the TikTok, I said the Cardinals are going to end up sneaking out with this win, and I don't know, something about them, man. Like they have the pieces in order. It doesn't look pretty on paper.
Hmm.
Wainwright versus Scherzer. I mean, any person with a head, with a brain, would put $100 on the Dodgers. It's one game. Baseball is not basketball. It's not football. Baseball has 162 games, and the Dodgers, they won 106, but they also lost 50 plus. It's a sport where the best teams lose 50 to 70 games, and it's this is a lot closer than I think. Max Scherzer has been phenomenal, but he's also had his moments here and there. Wainwright is, he's been very good as well. It's tough. I think we'll get into our dark horses after all these predictions, but I got some people that I think can make a big difference in this game. I could
Okay.
easily see this going 7-2 Dodgers, but I really think the Cardinals scrap out like a 4-3 win, and it's going to shock the world.
Okay. I My thing is, I it's almost impossible for me to bet against Max Scherzer.
Mm-hmm.
Like in my head, Max Scherzer 1 game playoff. I think there's maybe one other guy I take over him in my opinion at least. Jacob DeGrom, and that's it.
Fair enough.
Just just with that one game playoff, I think he's just a different animal. You know,
Hmm.
he he gets so physically locked in, and he's just so imposing on hitters. I don't see a situation where he's not going 6 or 7 shutout here, in my opinion. Um,
And yeah, I could
especially
totally
looking,
see this.
yeah, looking into their career stats, like the Cardinals hitters against Max Scherzer. Um, the only one who's had any sort of success against him is Tommy Edman, who's 4 for 11 or 4 for 12, I
Hmm.
believe, with a home run, and also 4 strikeouts. But besides that, everyone else is hovering around 200 or lower. So and a decent amount of plate appearances. So I think since he's had success against them in the past, and he's just a different animal in the playoffs. I think they're just going to ride him 6 or 7 innings. And I know Wayno could definitely do very well also, but I'd probably I'd probably bet on the Dodgers scoring off of Wayno more than I would bet the Cardinals scoring off of Max, obviously. But that's that's also kind of looking at the on paper talent. But like I said, I could easily see the Cardinals winning just based off of a hot streak and coming out and scratching a couple runs, because I don't see them necessarily coming out and really. I don't see a scenario where Max Scherzer gives up more than 2 or 3 runs
No,
at all. So I
no.
mean, unless the Dodgers offense just comes out so flat, which I'd be shocked if that happened. Especially because people aren't really talking about how well they've played
Yeah.
because of the Giants playing so well ahead of them.
Hmm.
They've been a top 3 team in baseball for the past 2 months, like winning percentage wise. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they're coming out very flat either. It's just about what team strikes first, in my opinion.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you, Scherzer goes out, throws 6, 7 shutout. Let's say it's a one-run game. How?
Uh-huh.
What's your confidence level on the Dodgers bullpen?
I feel pretty good about it personally. I've seen a lot of Jansen slander on the timeline
Hmm.
all season long. Uh, I don't really see it. I mean, I know he isn't the most dominant closer in baseball or anything like that. He's nothing close to what he used to be, but he's still very reliable. I mean, he doesn't blow many saves. He just finds a way to get the job done. I know that doesn't sound too confident, but he's just he's just done well. He's done nothing to show anyone that he isn't a reliable closer anymore. You know,
Yeah.
he has a 3.08 FIP this year, which isn't the greatest for a closer, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, he's tried and true. And I mean, he was the same guy last year, in my opinion, and they did perfectly fine with him. So I
Yeah.
don't see any issues.
Yeah. Especially with one of my favorite, relief pitchers, Blake Trinan.
Oh yeah,
W-
he's definitely the guy I go to in the eighth inning. But
Yeah, he's. I mean, there's so many great pitchers in the league. No ball moves like his. Like
yeah.
it is unreal how nasty he is.
Yeah,
Um.
him and Logan Webb throw two of the nastiest sinker slider
Hmm.
combos I've seen ever,
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah. And you throw in Joe Kelly. I mean, Gratterall has had his ups and downs, but who knows what he can do. They have the things in place. Like I said, the Cardinals bullpen, it's more of a toss up. I mean, some guys have performed well.
Yeah,
Some guys scare me though due to inexperience. Um, like
I
Alex
know.
Reyes and
Yeah,
Genesis Cabrera. Like it's
yeah,
not the prettiest bullpen when you compare them.
yeah. They have some great stuff. Don't get me wrong, but Alex Reyes, I mean, he's pretty much unhittable when he gets the ball in the zone. But that's the problem. He had 6.5 walks per 9 this year,
Yep.
and I mean in the playoffs, walks kill. I mean I
Oh
can't
yeah.
remember a time where a team's closer really walked that many hitters and got away with it, especially against elite lineups everywhere you look.
Hmm. Yeah.
I
It's
mean,
ridiculous.
an X factor for them, to kind of harp on the Luis Severino point from before, is Jack Flaherty, who's kind of playing a similar role for the Cardinals in this
Yep.
postseason. So, I mean, if he comes in, say Wayno goes five or six, I mean, he could easily come in for 2 or 3, and that could be the X factor, and the game could just be over after that. You know?
Yeah, Flaherty's, he didn't do too hot last year, but before, like,
Hmm.
he was a known, top of the line guy, like a good two a good 3. He's had his success in this league, and coming back is actually, I think, more huge for them um, than than Severino, just because like
I agree.
I have more confidence in him, and he's been good this year. I mean, 3.22 ERA. The FIP numbers are decent coming back from injury. Um, the home runs per 9, I mean, it's all right, I guess.
Yeah.
15% home run to fly
The
ball
strikeout
ratio,
numbers
which
are
is,
there.
yeah, strikeout numbers are there, which is really good. They're all a bit down,
Yeah.
like in terms of like all the per nines from last year. Besides his walks per nine is actually lower, which is a good thing. Um, I think he could, let's say the Cardinals advance somehow, or he could maybe be even using the wild card game. But I think Flaherty is kind of a sneaky under the radar guy. It's a very good point because they need help in that bullpen, and Flaherty has gotten it done before, and I don't see why he can't continue it.
Yeah, I think especially as his arm gets more healthy and he gets stretched out a little bit more because he hasn't pitched that much, he could see a tick up in stuff
Hmm.
coming out of the bullpen because he's not going to be throwing as many pitches and he's going to be more amped up and full of adrenaline. So
Yeah,
that could just make him more dominant. You could see the uptick in strikeouts in the playoffs, which
yeah.
could be, I mean, even better for them, obviously.
Yeah,
but
it gives people like Wainwright or people who are doing well, but it
mm,
could give them a little bit of a shorter leash. The manager
yeah,
doesn't have to be like, I really don't want to use my bullpen here. Flaherty can come out and hopefully give you 2, 3 solid innings, which it makes all the difference in a playoff game.
yeah, I think besides Flaherty, I think the other guy they should rely on a lot because that's the guy I trust the most is probably Giovanni Gallegos.
Mm-hmm.
Besides that, everyone else is kind of a coin flip because if they come out with their A game, no one's touching them. But if they come out and with a 3 batter minimum and they don't have it right away, that could just turn into a blow up inning if they walk 3 hitters, and which is perfectly, I mean, reasonable to say with those two guys
Mm-hmm.
that you mentioned before. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they have nasty guys in their pen, but walks are killers. And a team like the Dodgers, you walk a guy like Mookie Betts, you walk a guy like Chris Taylor, there's no reason they can't do something on the bases. And then one hit and you're down. It's one of those things where,
yeah,
you know, it, walks are such an important factor because every single base run, every single run matters. Gallegos has
yeah,
been very good this year. You compare his walk rate, he walks 6.5%. Genesis Cabrera's at 12, Races at 16.4. All these
it's not gonna cut it.
guys, he's significantly better at controlling his stuff. I could see a heavy usage of him um, in the bullpen, and deservedly so. He's been very good this year.
Yeah, agreed. Another factor, especially with the walks coming from some of their key bullpen pieces, are that the Dodgers are some of the most have some of the most patient hitters in baseball. Uh, I mean, well, they're just one of the more patient teams in general. So
Hmm.
you really don't want to see that from your relievers, especially playing them.
Yeah.
I know the loss of Max Muncy for the wild card and most likely the DS also was going to be big,
Hmm.
but I I mean, if anyone can withstand a blow like that, I think it's the Dodgers. I mean,
Yeah. It's a big blow in terms of if they make it to the DS. I think in the wild card, he could have been a key factor, and I'm sure he would have been. It doesn't bring them down that much, but missing that bat, the 140 WRC plus, the 4.8 WAR, 36 homers, like this guy can hit, and he's been. We said this a couple months before. He's not really at that level now, but he was flirting with the MVP conversation a
yeah,
couple months ago. He was that dude this year, and to miss him
he'll
for
get some
potentially the
solid
DS,
votes.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't mind that at all. He's been a huge factor, and missing him, the Dodgers could withstand it for one game.
yeah,
For a whole
agreed.
series, they have the batters, obviously, but I think he makes more of a difference than some people think.
Yeah, he's probably the toughest at bat in that lineup as far
Yep.
as his play discipline and
Hmm.
just his knowledge of the strike zone. Him and Justin Turner in the playoffs, usually back to back in the lineup,
Oh
also
man,
are just so annoying to face because
yeah.
they will not break out of their zone for anyone.
Yeah, he has the highest walk rate out of what I'm seeing anyone on the team who's a regular starter. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the patience is remarkable. Very tough out to get. And again, you make a great point about, the patience and the walks that the Cardinals give up. When you have pitchers like, Reyes and all the guys we've talked about with these insane high walk rates, and you look at the Dodgers and their walk rates from the batters are showing some of the most patient people. I do think, it's going to be really tough. And as long as Wainwright can pound the zone, I think it could be a little bit closer than we think.
Yeah.
But, you know, this might come down. If the Dodgers win, it could be because the bullpen blew it, which would be very sad for the Cardinals. I mean, I wouldn't be terribly sad, but
As a
you
Cubs
know,
fan.
yeah, I mean, they can go lose whatever they want. I just want to make a little prediction with the voice crack there, but um, yeah, I mean, on paper, it looks like you should hammer the Dodgers, but again, it's baseball, and I'm still going to stick with my prediction that the Cardinals scratch out a win. I could just see all the headlines already.
Yeah, I'm personally going Dodgers here. I know it's the boring pick, but that's just
Oh,
my
that's
opinion
perfectly
as it
fine. It's
stands.
probably the smart pick in the end, to be honest.
Yeah. Uh Moving on. This is probably more of a contested series. Well, as it is a DS series anyway, because it's not just a one game. The Astros and the White Sox. I mean, I'm gonna try to leave my bias out as a White Sox
Mhm.
fan as much as I can, but Eli, hopefully you can keep me in check there. Be my voice of reason. Maybe keep me on a level playing field. But what are some of your thoughts on maybe the starting pitching matchups or just the lineups in general?
Yeah, Sox are gonna get swept. No, I'm joking. I actually predicted the Sox to win the series 3-2. Um, Looking on paper, man, the dangerous lineups of both teams, the dangerous pitching of both teams, the bullpen really sealed the deal for me. The White Sox have such a good bullpen, and we've seen year after year how important that could be. How important a guy like Michael Kopech could be, um, coming in late relief. Who knows? Someone gets hurt, he starts the next day, or he just, I don't know. He can close. Let's say Hendricks and like he can do anything. And to have that guy there. Oh, and I forgot you have Liam Hendricks, Craig Kimbrell, Tepera, Bummer. You have a whole plethora of other
Eric
people.
Crochet.
Crochet, yeah, too. I don't like them. They can go, but yeah, like you said, I mean, the hitting. There's some question marks, I guess, between like, is there enough? The firepower's there. Some people maybe have been a little cold, but they've been heating up. I think Eloy had a very cold beginning of September. I'm sure he came back to life during the last couple weeks, which is very good for them. Gavin Sheets is going to be on the roster, a very young guy. Looking at the Astros lineup, I mean, it's so like it's so comparable. They have so many weapons. One thing I want to talk about, he might be top three most underrated player in the whole
I
game.
know who you're gonna say.
Kyle
It's gonna be.
Tucker.
Yep, yep. I knew
Kyle
it.
Tucker
I
is
agree.
secretly one of the best hitters in the league, and I bet some people watching, if you don't watch a lot of baseball, don't even know his name. 147 WRC plus, 5 WAR, 30 bombs, 395 xWOBA, like way above average. Like they have everyone. Then you throw in Correa, Altuve, Jordan Alvarez, one of the best hitters in the game. Yuli Gurriel, I'm pretty sure he just won the batting title in the AL, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah, he
which
did
is just based off
319.
average. Yeah, but still. Michael Brantley, one of the most consistent hitters.
Who was
My
second, I believe.
Yeah, he's at 311. I mean, gun to my head, I need to get a base hit. Michael Brantley's in my top five, maybe. If I'm looking for a single, I mean, he's a great hitter. I think it's gonna be. As a Cubs fan, I should root for the Astros. Um, I do say a lot of bad things about the Sox off camera, like as a joke. But being unbiased, whatever, the Sox have a great team. This is the series I am most excited for. I would not be surprised if the Astros win it, and I would not be surprised if the White Sox win it. I just know it's going to be great baseball. At least I hope it will be.
Yeah, I to talk about Kyle Tucker a little bit because I think he's so underappreciated. Uh, coming up, well, before he came up in 2020, in 2019, him and Robert, were the last minor league hitters to have 30-30 seasons, and Luis Robert obviously seems to get most of the hype, but
Hmm.
Kyle Tucker is right up there with him without the defensive aspect, obviously. Like
Yeah.
as far as being like a plus defender like Luis Robert is. But I just think uh, he's going to be a perennial MVP candidate. But that's what also scares me is that he's like the fourth most known guy in that lineup
If I
as far
if I
as
told a normal person to name 5 Astros players, he probably wouldn't even come up, and he's been the best hitter this year for them, or at
yeah,
least
exactly.
top two. It's crazy.
Yeah, he doesn't have the playoff pedigree quite yet, but I'm scared that this could be a time where he achieves that, especially with the other guys with so much experience performing in the playoffs, such as
Hmm.
Bregman, Altuve, and Correa,
Yeah.
Alvarez, and Gurriel. I mean, just naming those guys off the top of my head, just all of them like hitting back to back to back to back in the lineup is a little scary, but I think the Sox are comparable and. I think their rotation, which has carried them throughout the whole year, could definitely perform and hold the Astros hitters somewhat at bay. Obviously, someone is bound to have a great start, especially if Rodon, who's a question mark as it comes right now, maybe isn't at 100% if he does start, or if he is left off the roster because they find that he's not healthy enough to pitch.
Hmm.
Um, that could be a little scary, but hopefully with the Michael Kopech piggyback that is
Yep.
expected to happen with Rodon giving 3 or 4, maybe 5 max if he's really cruising, then Kopech for 2 or 3 afterwards, transitioning into the back end.
Yep.
Hopefully that could be a swing game 3, because I don't expect this to be a sweep on either side.
Hmm.
Um, I I mean, my personal prediction as it stands is the White Sox win it in 4 games, but
Okay.
that's really based off of the pitching edge. I think the Astros, if anything, have a better lineup just based off of experience and them all being in a groove and playing together all season long. Because the
Hmm.
White Sox hitters, obviously, a lot of them were hurt most of the year, so I think that could play a factor. Um, so I don't know. I personally have the White Sox winning in 4, but I could definitely see a scenario where the Astros win in 4 or even 5. Um,
Yeah.
I think this is probably the closest series out of all of the series in general on both sides.
Yeah. I would have to agree, and I am beyond. I couldn't even imagine what you're feeling. I am beyond excited to watch this series. I can
Yeah,
see so many different things happening, so many guys coming up big. And I mean, the difference maker, like we'll talk about later, Michael Kopech coming out of the pen. I believe Zach Greinke is coming out of the pen in the playoffs.
yeah,
Is that
that's
confirmed?
that's what's been said so far. I feel like that makes sense is because he has been hurt for a bit and he hasn't had time to stretch out. So I believe that's
Hmm.
the reasoning. But uh, that can be a little scary. I
Yeah.
believe because he he's I don't know, he's very consistent and I could
Hmm.
definitely see a lineup that the Sox have kind of having some trouble with him. Just
Yeah.
because he's a soft tossing righty when most of our lineup is filled with right-handed hitters,
Hmm.
and I don't know, we do better against velocity than soft tossers. So I I don't know if I really love that matchup, but at the same time, how available will he be? Because he literally got activated for the season finale, so he didn't
Yeah.
get the pitch at all in
No.
September. So I mean, how much will he be able to pitch? Who knows? But if he comes out in a big game and pitches 2 or 3 innings, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. I'm kind of trying to figure out because he's been okay this year. He hasn't been amazing. He's been about average. It Do you think it's more beneficial for him to come out of the bullpen? Because they have guys who've stepped up. They have McCullers, they have Luis Garcia, they have Framber Valdez, they have Urquidy, they have Odorizzi, who's been, okay. You can't really rely on him, but at least he can give you
Yeah.
innings. Is it better for them? Are you more what's the word, at ease, knowing he's not going to be, hopefully like coming out and pitching like 5 or 6 innings instead of just coming out of the pen? Or does that kind of scare you? Or game one, you see Greinke come out, shut you guys out for a couple innings, and then game three, he comes out again. It's like, I don't know.
Um, I think I'm a little more at ease, like when you
Mm-hmm.
put it that way. But at the same time, I really didn't even consider him part of the equation. Just looking at their team in general before this, because he was such a non-factor for the last few months of the season. So it's it's a little tough. I think a guy like Luis Garcia in his first playoff start in his rookie season could definitely come out and be a benefit of not having as much experience. Not
Mm-hmm.
saying the Sox are the most experienced playoff team ever, but I mean, with the pitcher, you never know. They could come out and have jitters and maybe not be on their A game, and we could definitely take advantage of that. Um, so hopefully, a guy like that having to pitch early in the series could come out and have some struggles. With Lance McCullers, we did face him earlier this year, and we didn't do very good against him. So that
Mm-hmm.
scares me a little bit. But October is a different animal, and hopefully he's thrown off his game a little bit. And he also, since we've seen him before, doesn't come out and is as sharp as possible. But it's tough. Urquidy's definitely beatable, but he's definitely not bad either.
Mm-hmm.
Along with Odorizzi, we've seen him many times in the past while he was pitching for the Twins and
Yeah.
the Rays and other AL teams.
Yeah.
But um, I don't know. I think we have the edge, especially with. I mean, we had the best starting pitching rotation in the AL this year. I would say numbers wise, at least by ERA, we had the number one ERA, but and the most strikeouts in the American League. So I feel like that's a pretty good case for that. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough. I think Dylan Cease could be a big X factor, whether or not he gets a start or he comes out of the bullpen.
Yeah. What is your take on that? If you could get, let's say Rodon's healthy, you can get Gio, you can get Lance, maybe a Kopech or Rodon start. What's
Yeah.
your confidence level with throwing Cease out there for a game three, or do you kind of prefer him in that long reliever role? Because my goodness, if you have Kopech going out for three, Cease coming out for three, Crochet, Kimbrel,
Um.
Hendricks, like how do you beat that?
See, with last year, he didn't deserve a start in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
As to why we went to Dane Dunning and pulled him immediately and all that
Yeah.
stuff happened. But I think this year, in the second half especially, he's pitched himself into a playoff spot. Um, he's done very well in the second half, and he's been a lot better at home than at like it obviously pitching on the road. He's
Mm-hmm.
had a 3.18 ERA at home compared to a 4.69 on the road. So
Yeah.
as long as he's got to start at home, I think that makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
In the second half, he's also had a jump up in his K rate. He's lowered his ERA. He's lowered the walks and he's lowered the home runs. He's lowered everything basically. So I think he's been way more solid in the second half, and I think he's pitched himself into that fourth starter role in the rotation. Whether or not that comes up in the DS is another story. I think, I think it's going to be a mix of between Gio and Lynn game 1 and 2, then Rodon 3, barring any health issues,
Okay.
and then 4 would most likely be a Gio start. I think a
Yeah.
Gio or a Lynn start, and then the other guy would pitch game 5 if that happened. So I think Cease may not be needed in the DS, so he could pitch a few innings in relief. But in the CS, if that happens, and hopefully it happens, he would definitely get a start or two. Well, not a. I think he would definitely get at least one start and then a few innings out of the bullpen.
So assuming Rodon is good to go,
Uh-huh.
is your hierarchy of pitchers going Giolito, Rodon, Lynn, Cease? Giolito, Lynn, Rodon, Cease? Or
I'm. The Sox have said that they're debating on Lynn or Gio game 1, but personally, especially with how he's performed in the second half, I'm going Giolito all the way. And with
mm-hmm.
the great start he had in the playoffs last year, I think that's just our guy, and we go as he goes. So he's going to set the tone game 1. And then Lance Lynn is the clear number 2 for me. Rodon would have more of a case if he was doing better health-wise and he was available to come pitch the second time in the series, but I don't think there's any chance of that being a possibility. So game 3 feels right for him because he'll be in the middle, so he won't have to be inclined to come back for a game 5 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He would be slotted in probably for game 1 or 2 instead. So I think Lynn, who could definitely pitch on short rest, he's done it before. He's pitched in many different situations in playoff baseball and just throughout his career. So I feel comfortable with him too. Then I would definitely go Rodon with the piggyback because I think that just makes him that much stronger with
Yeah.
Kopech right behind him. And then Cease 4. The only thing with Cease is that he could have some hiccups in his control. That's the only thing that really worries me because
Yeah.
he's got the strikeout stuff. He can beat any lineup any day as long as he's on. But the walk numbers scare me a little bit sometimes. That's all.
Yeah. He doesn't. Correct me if I'm wrong. He doesn't pitch into or at least finish the sixth inning very often, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's had some starts where he's done it, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he's mostly like a five inning kind of guy.
Yeah.
He'll have some impressive numbers in that short span amount of time, but
Yeah. Absolutely.
his he'll have a few walks or a few long at bats, some innings where he'll throw 20 plus pitches that'll kind of take him off of his steady pace most of the
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah.
it's
I
not like a
think.
stamina issue. It's more of a way he attacks hitters.
Yeah. Exactly. I've watched a lot of Dylan Cease this year, um, and yeah, like the control could be a little bit of an issue, but I think there's no better team to be on to give 5 innings and let the bullpen do the rest, which is
For
a
sure.
luxury that he has. So he might be able to, you know, tailor his game plan to, okay, I just got to go out and throw 5 and then hand it over to Tapero, hand it over to Crochet, Bummer, whoever. Um, which could be beneficial because you don't want him to try to do too much and then ending up leaving a slider over the plate. These Astros hitters, man, they're not going to miss one, especially if they have a wire in a trash can. I mean, who knows? It's very it's a scary lineup to face,
It's
but
a low blow, man.
I don't have what's the word? Basically, what I'm trying to say is I have a lot of faith in the White Sox pitching to get it done. But in the end, I mean, I'm not a White Sox fan. I do want to see them advance, but all in all, I just want to see a good series, and I think that's what we're going to get. We're going to get very good baseball. This is going to be the best series out of the first round for sure.
Hopefully. Well, for my sake, I hope it's 3 and done, and then
Yeah.
I don't have to spare the gray hair yet.
Mm-hmm.
That's because the CS will probably be even worse if
Yeah.
all goes
Yeah.
well.
For sure.
Yeah. So I got the Sox in 4, and then you said you had the Sox in 5.
Yes.
Okay. Well, moving on, we can go to the other ALDS series. It's a little bit tough. I mean, obviously, since we don't know the other matchup quite
Mm-hmm.
yet, but we can assume since we already picked the wild card matchup that it's going to be the Yankees. Is that who you picked also?
Yeah.
Okay, so Rays versus Yankees. Uh, what are your initial thoughts going into the series?
I think they stand absolutely no chance. Absolutely no chance. I understand they just beat them one game, and I know the Rays were trying. You could see it. The Rays, I will. There will not be an ounce of surprise in my body if the Rays 3-0 them, get out of here. I do personally have the Rays winning 3-1. I think the Yankees scrape out maybe a Garrett Cole start. Maybe something else happens, whatever. The the Rays, and we'll get to like our later predictions on like who's going to win the World Series. But let me tell you, I'm very high on the Rays. Um,
Which
they're
is fair.
it's playoffs, and anything can happen. The Rays don't look like the best team on paper, obviously. They will get it done against the Yankees. There's no doubt in my mind, and I do not think it's close at all. Even though
Yeah,
anything could happen, but yeah.
they're uh, they're the masters of platoon. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, whether it's mix and matching the bullpen or mix and matching the lineup, they're always gonna find a way. I mean, I think the Yankees could definitely win 2 games here, maybe. But unless they just all of a sudden the bats just get scorching, I don't see a scenario where they win this series.
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't know why I don't know why I'm calling this, but I think Corey Kluber edges out a start. That's probably about it. I think Garrett Cole maybe gets hit around a little bit against the
Okay.
Rays.
Yeah,
Um,
I would
I
love that.
think I think the X factor for the Rays here is their young starters or their young pitchers in
Oh yeah,
general. Patino, I think that's how you say it. Patino,
yeah,
Shane Baz, and then
yeah.
Shane McClanahan.
Oh yeah.
Or did I say Shane Baz? Whatever. Uh, I think that could also be massive for them. Especially with how we were preaching before with the long relievers that just come in and shut down a game. If they have a few of those guys who can do that, whether or not it's Patino or Baz, I think it could definitely be the X factor as far as going deeper into the playoffs,
Yeah.
just like last year.
Yeah, Baz has impressed, let me tell you. And they said, did they confirm he's long reliever role, or did we just speculate this?
We're speculating.
Okay, if you were managing this team, a young guy, he's made 3 starts, 13 innings, he's impressed. Where do you put him?
I start them,
Yeah.
especially with their other options. If you're looking at their other options, it's Patino, McClanahan, Waka, and Yarborough are the other
Mm-hmm.
four guys. So, I mean, Michael Waka isn't very impressive in my opinion. I feel like most people would agree.
Yeah.
I know he's been there with the Cardinals in the past, but
Yep.
I'm still not a very big fan, and I like the upside of Baz
Mm-hmm.
and more, especially in a come in and they're not keeping in their starters in very long, Blake Snell. So
Yeah.
so they only expect like 3 or 4 out of him. I think that'd be perfect for him in that role, especially him not seeing the Yankees at all, if
Yeah.
anything one time. So I think he can come in and catch them all by surprise the first or second time through the order.
Yeah, I would agree. And they do have, the decent bullpen pieces. Uh, I really like Fire Eisen. I don't know if I'm saying it. I always mess up his name. Um,
JP,
JP. Yeah, I'll just call him
yeah.
JP. And then obviously Diego Castillo is also good. He's having a very good year
um,
actually.
isn't
Is
he?
he's hurt though, isn't he?
No, he's on the Mariners.
Oh no, you're right.
He got
You're right.
traded, but yeah, no,
Yeah,
I,
no,
I, I probably would have
same.
made that
Yeah,
mistake. I forgot
yeah,
about
no.
that trade.
No, I'm just, brain is fried. I'm just looking at names right now. If we go to the lineup, though, I mean, I might like. I mean, McClanahan is very good. Like you said, Waka has the experience. He's had a
His
better.
ERA is up into the sixes. I don't know what his
Yeah,
underlying stats are, but they probably aren't that
it's
great if I
it's
had
yeah,
to
it's not
guess.
great, but I mean, I do like
But
their batting.
they've had guys step up this year, such as Andrew Kittredge, who was an all-star.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Anderson is back. So I mean, they got Peter Fairbanks also still, who was a postseason legend last year, just with the
Oh
memes
yeah,
alone.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean Nick Anderson hasn't been that great, but he's only also pitched 6 games, so I think he'll definitely be big in the playoffs for them. But he's on the IL, I guess, but
Yeah,
I
I
don't know.
gotta
I didn't know he
refresh
got
on all
hurt.
the IL stuff. Make sure I know who's in, who's out.
Yeah, I mean, either way, their bullpen is always going to be solid, no matter what the names are.
Yeah.
Personally, I mean, it's pretty obvious. Colin McHugh has actually been solid for them this year. He's
Mm-hmm.
been very underrated. He's pitched 37 games with 7 starts, with the 1.55 ERA. The strikeout numbers look good. The FIP
Yeah.
is a 2.12. So, I mean, I feel like he's just the classic Rays pitcher who's going
Yeah.
to come in and be very solid for them. I mean, he's done it before with the Astros, so I mean, it's no surprise. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's the pitching will definitely get it done to the extent where it'll be enough. I don't think they're gonna lose because of their pitching. I think they just know how to get it done. Their batting is, again, if you were to ask like a casual fan, they probably wouldn't know anyone besides Rosarena, maybe Wander Franco because they've heard some things. They have their whole team playing like all stars. G-Man Choi, like kind of a meme, but also a really good player. I mean, he has a 117 WRC plus, which is perfectly fine by me. Mike Zunino is in the 130s, which is, the upper echelon, especially for
yeah,
catchers. Wendell is good. Wander Franco is an absolute stud, and I could see a situation where Franco takes the world by storm and carries this team
and
offensively.
to top
And
it all off, they have a stud second baseman in Brandon Lowe.
he is one of the best in the league. It is ridiculous how good he is. And almost got 40 home runs this year. I was hoping he could, but a 137 WRC plus, all the stats are there. And then you got the outfield. You got Kiermaier, one of the best defenders in the league. You got Arozarena, probably rookie of the year. When it's all said and done, Austin Meadows is having a good year. And then Nelson Cruz, obviously the acquisition.
Yeah. He hasn't been too great with them, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't bank on that lasting.
No, he's one of those guys. I don't care if he's 0 for 60. I do not want to pitch to him. He can send a ball 500 feet whenever he wants. If we're talking about dark horses, I really think, and this is why I'm so high on the Rays, I think Wander Franco will have a historic playoff run and
Randy level?
very close, if not beating it. The faith I have in this guy is insane. And he has a super long on base streak. That's cool in the regular season. Very impressive. In the playoffs, to get on base like that, it's the most important thing. So, I could see a situation where he ends a series batting, 500 with like 3 home runs. It's a good defense, getting on base 2 times a game. Like he's a superstar in the making, and obviously he's super young. I'm putting all my eggs in his basket. He's going to carry this team.
It's not a bad basket to put it in with 30 extra base hits and 281 at bats. So
yeah, absolutely not.
I can't say I blame you. I definitely see the hype in the Rays. They really have it all if you really look at it like in a deeper way. If you look at their platoons and who they're mixing and matching with, it's kind of how they take 2 players and they'll combine them into one really good player. You know what I mean? Like the Dodgers just have the really good player, like the one guy, but the Rays have the 2 guys that make like morph it in.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to see. I really, as a baseball nerd, I really enjoy seeing something like that. Instead of just pure superstars all around the diamond, which are cool, obviously, but seeing some sort of I don't even know how to describe it. But
it's just mixing and matching, man.
Masterful management.
Yeah, like Yandy Diaz, who, by the way, if you haven't Googled Yandy Diaz arms, go do that. He is one of the most jacked players you'll ever see. But he plays a third of his games at first and a third of his games at third, while also DHing 5% of the time. And he has a 111 WRC plus. Like, he's not a bad player. And to play on the corners like that in a pinch, to play the matchups, that's a really solid player to have that you can just put wherever. Obviously not wherever, first, third, and maybe DH if something's up with Cruz. But to be able to, take Wendell out of the game or take Choi, depending on the matchup, they have the roster to just mix and match. And, that's important. It's really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they acquired him for nothing, which is crazy.
For an Oreo.
They sent Jake Bowers. That's about it.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's what the Rays do. They're gonna continue to do it, and they're definitely a team nobody wants to face in the playoffs, including whoever wins tomorrow. But I think it's pretty obvious. You have the Rays winning. What was it, 4-1?
Let me think.
Or was it a sweep?
I had them winning against the Yankees, 3-1.
It's a DS series. My fault.
Yeah, I had them 3-1, but I would not be surprised if it was a clean sweep. I'm rooting for them so hard to just get them out of here if they make it. If real quick, we don't have to harp on this. If the Red Sox make it, do you feel better or worse about playing the Rays if it was the Red Sox?
Worse.
Yeah, I would say so too. So the Yankees are the best matchup out of that wild card, and I still don't think they have a chance. I'm so high on the Rays in this postseason. So yeah,
I agree.
It'll be fun to see the Yankees fall. Hopefully, me saying that doesn't come and bite me in the butt, but I'm not expecting a White Sox Astros series for this one. Should be pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I agree. I got a sweep personally.
That's perfectly fine.
I think the Rays are just gonna be sitting there waiting to just unleash onto whoever their division rival they have to play is. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
Moving on to the NL. This is one of the more interesting series, I'd say, because they're two very underrated, probably the two most underrated teams in the playoffs for me personally, unless you want to go with the Cardinals. But the Braves
Hmm.
and Brewers. The Brewers recently, obviously they clinched the division, but during their clinching division celebration, Devin Williams makes the mistake of punching a wall, and he is out for the rest of the season. So, well, unless they make it to the World Series, there's potential he comes back, but
Hmm.
basically the rest of the season. I do you think that makes a huge impact on the outcome of the series, or would you have picked it the same either way?
Okay, I want to start with saying I would have picked it the same either way, but
Okay.
looking in the long run, oh man, does that make a difference? Devin Williams didn't get off to the best start. He is one of the nastiest relievers, and he had a great second half. Him and
The
Hader back to
Airbender.
back, yeah, he's ridiculous. I still have the Brewers winning the series 3-1. I think the pitching overpowers the Braves. I really like the Braves. I really like a lot of people on their team. They do have really good starters as well that could potentially give people like Corbin Burns, Freddie Peralta, Woodruff, whoever, a run for their money. I just I I think the Brewers will scratch it out 3-1, but in my heart, I am rooting for the Braves on this one.
Okay. I'm this might be a bit of a hot take, but I think I'm gonna pick the Brewers in this series. I mean, not the Brewers, the Braves. Sorry, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't make sense. But yeah, I think I got the Braves in this series. I think their their lineup just kind of puts them over the top here. I don't I don't expect the Brewers pitching staff to be as dominant as they were in the regular season. Obviously, I think Corbin Burns will do well, but I could see a guy like Brandon Woodruff maybe coming out and not doing bad necessarily, but I
Mm-hmm.
could see him allowing a few runs to the Braves where they could come out and it could be a battle of the bullpens, which in that case they would be missing Devin Williams.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'm not sure if I feel that great necessarily about the Braves bullpen, but it's definitely not bad by any means, and I think that it could keep them in the game. I just kind of have faith in guys like Freddie Freeman and Ozzie Albies and Austin Riley to kind of take that team and steal a few games from the Brewers.
Yeah, I could totally see that. Like I said, I love a lot of people on the Braves, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if they got it done. Um, the Brewers bullpen still isn't that bad. They
Mm-hmm.
have people like Brent
No,
Suter.
yeah.
They have people like Boxberger. They have people like Hunter Strickland. Um, uh, I mean, or not, yeah, but what was I going to say? The hitting, the Braves have the edge in the hitting, which it's tough because they have the edge in the hitting. How much of an edge do the Brewers have? Woodruff hasn't been as dominant as he started the year as. Um, he's still been good, pretty good. Corbin Burns is obviously my pick for Cy Young. He is almost a lock. I mean, he had a bad start his last time out, if I'm not mistaken. But he's basically a lock to give you like 6, 7 innings, maybe eight, maybe give up 2 runs.
Okay.
You know, I think we'll see a, a person who not a lot of people know about Corbin Burns. If you're like super casual, whatever. I think this is going to be the start of him kind of constructing this whole playoff Corbin type thing, where like same thing we have with Garrett Cole here. I'm hoping he can kind of overachieve and next year if the Brewers make it, we're playoff Corbin Burns is unreal. I think he's that type of guy if there's anyone to take that
Okay.
kind of like title. It's weird because I'm predicting the
I could
Brewers,
definitely
but
see that.
yeah, absolutely. I think it's weird because I'm predicting the Brewers, but I want the Braves. It's
Yeah,
kind of a balance. I don't know.
I think an X factor for the Braves could be if they include a guy like Spencer Strider onto their playoff
Mm-hmm.
roster, who they
Yeah.
just called up a couple days ago, and pipes 100 and has a very good slider also. So if they include a guy like that and he could come out and be a dominant reliever and be an X factor, I think that could possibly make a big enough impact so that they win the series.
Yeah.
Personally, I picked the Braves in 5 just because I think that infield, with all that pop and the outfielders who have the occasional long ball. I mean, with Jack
Mhm.
Peterson and Jorge Soler, I think that they will be able to steal a few games with Max Fried giving a solid outing along with Ian Anderson and
Yeah.
probably Charlie Morton.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good matchup. It's not really one that kind of makes you as excited as a White Sox
No, yeah,
Astros, but it could quietly be one of the better series that come out of the first round.
yeah.
Um, and
I don't
just
think it's one of the
imagine,
sexier ones for sure.
no, exactly. And imagine if Acuna was in that lineup, if non-wife beating Ozuna was in that lineup. Like
Or Mike
it's
Soroka.
yeah, that's a big one as well. Like how are they doing that with injuries? And they snuck
Yeah,
their way. Not they deserved it. Austin Riley put the team on his back. Everyone is this team deserved to be here, and I could totally see them thinking like, why not us coming out full firepower? I'm hoping to see that. Something
yeah.
tells me the Brewers are just gonna scrape it out though.
Yeah, I could definitely see it. It could just be, I mean, a pure dominant pitching performance, but I think, I think the Braves are tried and true with their lineup, so
Yeah,
that's the only thing pushing it over for me. Um, you have anything else to say about the series? I think it's pretty laid
yeah,
out there.
yeah, for sure. Just real quick, Dodgers Giants. What do you just give me like a 3 game or 4 games to whatever you want to do? Who's winning that
Um,
series? If the
I
Dodgers
mean,
advance, obviously.
where do I even start? I mean, I think I think I got the Dodgers taking this series, personally. I have them taking it in 4 games. Uh, I think the Dodgers just a better team in general. I know it's gonna be a hot take
Oh,
for all
interesting.
all the Giants fans out there, and I know I mean they've earned their division and the opportunity to play the wild card team in the playoffs with the best record in baseball. But
Mm,
I just think with the Dodgers having so much success in the postseason recently and just the firepower they have in general, along with maybe some of the Giants pitching staff not having as many playoff innings as a guy such as Walker Buehler, Max
mm-hmm.
Scherzer,
Yeah,
and Julio Urias, who's been underrated in the playoffs, in my opinion. I think it's gonna be tough. I really don't see how the Giants squeak this one out. I mean, obviously they're a really good team, but I don't know. I is it hard to say that I need to see it until I believe it in the
yeah, no,
playoffs?
no, I totally understand that. Um, it would be such a treat for the Giants if the Cardinals scrape out a win. Um,
Yeah.
because I predicted the Giants to beat the Cardinals clean sweep, no questions asked. If they play the Dodgers, playoff Dodgers, I really like the Giants, but if they play the Dodgers 4-1, 4-2 if the Giants are lucky, I think the Dodgers advance if they play the Giants. So, but they got to get.
Would you pick Game 5 then? Because it's a DS
Oh,
series.
yeah, you're right.
But
You're right. My bad. My bad.
yeah.
Dodgers would win like 3-1,
Okay.
maybe sweep.
Yeah.
I could see that.
That's
Um,
tough, man. Right? It hurts to say it, but
yeah,
like it's so plausible.
but yeah, I mean they've played each other a lot, and Giants have held their ground. It's one of those
Yeah.
things where like just gotta watch the game. Can't really predict what's gonna happen.
Yeah. But
Just crazy,
gun
but
to head, 3-1 Dodgers.
yeah. If you want to go real quick before we wrap up, I know we just talked about all the series, but just go through each series real quick. Just say who you think is gonna win and by how many games, and go through all of it, and then in the end, give us your final World Series winner.
Okay. Um, I'm gonna go. So I have the White Sox and the Rays as it stands. I'm gonna go with the White Sox in 6 games. I just think, uh, I'm. I think the momentum that would carry them from an Astros series win,
Mm-hmm.
if it is in 5 or in what I say 4 games, like I predict, I
Mm-hmm.
think that would be so big for the confidence, and the team would get such a stride from it, along with the bullpen most likely pitching extremely well if they won the series.
Hmm.
I think that propels them potentially to beat the Rays in 6 games. That's what I'm gonna go with. I think in the CS I have the Braves and the Dodgers, the rematch, and I think, man, that's so tough
Yeah,
because like the Dodgers are obviously better on paper, but I mean, I think I'm gonna go with the Dodgers in 5 games.
yeah.
I think it's just kind of an easier pick there, especially with the Braves not having the best pitching. I mean they're not bad, but they're definitely not one of the stronger staffs in the playoffs. So I would go with the Dodgers, and then I have the White Sox versus Dodgers in the World Series. And call me a
I
homer, but
obviously you want to win. You're a Sox fan. Is your
yeah,
non-biased opinion Sox beating the Dodgers?
um,
It's tough. I get it, but
because I definitely I mean, I definitely just see it. Like I
you
see the
the
White
White
Sox
Sox
having,
have the White Sox have what it takes to compete. It's not a easy question, which I
yeah,
can't really blame you for picking the White Sox. I wouldn't
yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if they won it all.
I got the Sox. I mean, I think either they lose in the CS or they win the World Series. As far as like where with them beating the Astros, obviously if they
Hmm.
lose the Astros, none of this is happening. But
Yeah.
I think the best team that has the chance to beat them after a series like that would be the Rays. And
Hmm.
I could definitely see the Rays winning in a very long series, but with my prediction and how I have it going right now, I'm picking the White Sox to beat the Dodgers in 7 games. Um,
Fair
I
enough.
think I think Kershaw being banged up could potentially hurt the Dodgers the longer the playoff goes.
Hmm.
I think they definitely would be relying on him pretty heavily as a Game 3 starter, and whoever they plug in afterwards may not be as reliable as you would probably want a starter like that to be. So
Yeah.
I think that could be the difference, and I think the White Sox have a better bullpen. And I think that definitely lasts as the playoffs go on and on. Because the Dodgers, I mean, like I said, they have a solid bullpen, but I don't know if it's as strong as the White Sox is. Like as far as like being overpowering,
Hmm.
and I obviously the Dodgers have a better lineup, but when a team gets hot enough to make it to the World Series, I feel like
It's
all of
anyone's
the
game.
talent is yeah, and all the talent is kind of thrown out the window because both the lineups are obviously going to be talented enough to be there.
Yeah.
So I don't think that makes a crazy difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I could definitely see that happening. You know, there's no doubt about that. I got the Rays in the CS with the White Sox. I think the Rays take the White Sox to Game 7, and I think it's just a matter of I don't know. I think the Rays edge them out.
Okay.
Um, it's not me rooting against the White Sox. Like I said before, like I try to keep
No, no,
everything
yeah.
unbiased. I said this earlier in the year actually. I said I think the Sox make the playoffs and advance a round or so, lose, and then next year they come back and they'll win it. I definitely could see that happening. I'm taking the Rays winning Game 7 of that series, and then I'm taking the Cardinals beating the Dodgers. So then that means in my book, the Giants with an easy sweep. I'm going to call it a 3-0 sweep of the Giants or of the Cardinals, and then it's Cardinals. I mean Giants Brewers in the CS. I think the Giants win this one pretty easily, 4-1, 4-2, and advance to the World Series. And I think it's going to be Rays Giants, and you know the Giants are going to have that underdog story building up. The Rays are just going to come and shut them down, 4-2. I think the Rays win this, and like I said, I think Wander Franco walks away with MVP in every single divisions or every single series that he's in. I think Wander like something like obviously it's not a hot take, like he's a great player. I think he just goes berserk in the playoffs.
Okay. So should I give my CS and World Series MVPs then?
Sure,
Just because.
Luis Robert.
ALCS, Gavin Sheets,
Mm.
and then World Series MVP. I'm gonna go Tim Anderson.
Ooh, okay. I thought you were gonna say Robert or Eloy over him, but that's interesting. Yeah, definitely
Yeah,
not a bad pick. Tim Anderson, known for showing up in the big moments, but yeah,
yeah,
that about does it for going in depth on every series. This has been a pretty long one, so if you're still
yeah.
listening, I don't know what you're doing, but we appreciate it.
We appreciate
Um,
you.
Make sure to follow on all the socials. It's going to be linked in the YouTube description. Again, Pitch Catch Pod on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, any other thing that you're looking for, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, we're on all of that, and on YouTube. So thank you guys all for watching. If you want, drop a comment on who you think is going to win the World Series, and I hope you guys are as excited for the playoffs as we are. With that said, have a great night, everyone.